Back in town on a red eye. Baby, don't make me wait. Body like, been a long while. And I just wanna taste. Let's be alone. I put it down when I come around.
Hi you guys, and welcome back to Talking Smack. I am so excited to have this guest on today. We have Jessica, and she is a mom, she's a lash artist, she's a YouTuber. She literally has done so much, and I've followed her for a while now. And I remember in COVID, I was like, I want to start YouTube, and I think I even messaged you, and I was like, I love your page, or something like that. And I watched a lot of your YouTube videos during COVID, and I was like, this girl is so cool. I want to be her friend. And then we've ended up meeting in real life. We're homies IRL now. And anyway, I'm just super excited to have you on the podcast. So if you want to do a little intro, tell us anything I missed, which I'm sure I missed a ton of things. But yeah, go ahead.
Hi. Oh my God. I'm so excited to be on. First of all, thank you for having me. Every time when you started your podcast, I was like, so intrigued, and I was watching every single episode, commenting. Unfortunately, I started watching on my TV, so I couldn't comment, but I was still there on premiere day. I was like, I love it. You changed my mindset so much. I feel like I was already pretty positive, but just you speaking and me like absorbing everything you were talking about, I was like, okay, I need to really change my mindset even more. But hi, you guys. I'm so excited to be here. My name, as MacK said, is Jessica. I've been on YouTube for a couple years now, sharing just lash tips, tricks. I have a lot of informative videos. When I first started lashing, I lashed at a salon. So I didn't have to buy product. I didn't have to find my own clients, anything like that. And I did start in Las Vegas. I moved here to Memphis about how long ago? I always get my years mixed up. It's been a while that I've been here in Memphis, and I opened up my own studio, and I've been here lashing solo since I moved here to Memphis. When I went on like these websites to like find products, it was so foreign to me. Like they had 8mm, and I don't know if you've seen like my Instagram reel where I was like, I learned to lash in codes. I did. They didn't teach us like millimeters. They just taught us like small, medium, long. So once I started being on my own and finding clients and doing this and doing that, I was like, I need help, and I need to help other people once I started figuring it out. So that's how my YouTube started. I just wanted to help the beginner lash artist that does not know where to start. You mentioned I'm a mom, and training courses are so expensive and they're very necessary, right? But sometimes they don't go into depth about lengths, curls, diameters. So on my YouTube, I go a little bit more in depth about things that maybe you won't get in your lash course, because of course, lash courses, they're specific to like technique or this or that. So with my videos, you could just always go back. It's free. You can watch whenever you want. You can watch all night, all day, and there's so much on there. So yeah, that's how I kind of started my YouTube channel. Now I am still doing YouTube. I'm like, what do I say? Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
That's so awesome. I remember seeing your reel about talking about lashing in codes, and I was like, what on earth? Like, do people really like teach people this way? And I wonder, like, what do you think? Do you think it was because they thought it was easier to understand, or do you think it was a way for them to be like, oh, we're the ones with the secrets, and like that way made it maybe harder for you to go out on your own?
Definitely the second thing you mentioned. When I got hired, I didn't know anything about lashes, and I did sign a contract that said I can't leave and take clients or lash. I want to say like 15 miles around the salon, and they had 2 in Las Vegas. They were kind of separated, so it'd be really hard to leave and lash. And they had it for like a year after or something like that. I had a great experience there. I can't say anything negative. But now that I am like lashing solo, if you wanted to leave and start lashing solo, it was hard. It was almost like impossible. I wanted to give up so many times because they're teaching you to be an employee, not to run your own business. So it's like, I don't know, like how can I say it's bad or good? You know, it just really depends on where you see your lashing career. Because if I if I would have stayed in Vegas, I wouldn't have mind still working there. I was getting paid. I was just like clocking in, clocking out. I didn't have to worry about anything. And now as a solo lash artist, which I see a lot of people on TikTok, on Instagram, everywhere, like, be a solo lash artist, you'll make 100,000 in a year or like more and this and this and that. They glamorize it, but it's so freaking hard and it's not for everyone. I would have, again, thrived and loved to just clock in and clock out. I didn't have to worry about anything.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Thinking about like how much it is glamorized now when people don't realize how much extra work on the back end it is, or even if you see that number on paper coming in $10,000 a month, more often than not, half of that is going to expenses, your product, literally just to live as a personal human. And like, it's not all going in your pocket. And I think that's one thing that is really hard. And especially like a lot of people have used that as a marketing tactic to get people to sign up for their courses or sign up for their coaching or sign up for XYZ, whatever it is, because they're like, I'll teach you how to do this. But it's like, sometimes it's like the smoke and mirrors of not being super transparent. Like, hey, yeah, you could end up pulling in 10 grand, but you have to understand all your personal expenses, all your business expenses are going out the door, and taxes and all the other things that randomly, unexpectedly come up. And not to mention paying for your own health insurance if you're not married or if you're not on your parents anymore. And there's so many other things that you have to think about. But I mean, ultimately.
Yeah, a lot of the time they say like, oh, make your own schedule. And yeah, you definitely can. But let's say you want to go on vacation. Who's going to take your clients? What, like, you still have to work around you. It's just like sometimes they glamorize it too much. And I'm like, it's amazing, but it's not all that it's working up to be like.
Exactly. And I feel like too, at this point, I wouldn't change it because I don't know anything different. I've been doing this since I was 20. It's been almost 9 years. And it's so crazy because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so encouraging to anyone else who wants to go do their own thing and go out. But I'm also like, hey, also not to discourage, not in a discouraging way, but just like, hey, just so you know, there's a lot more work that you have to put into it if you want to be as successful as you want to be. And you just have to have that mindset that, okay, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. There's going to be, things that come up that are uncomfortable. You're going to have uncomfortable conversations. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone to get to that point and realize, oh, I do have to put the work in to get to the point that I want to be. And I think too, like social media is really, really hard for some people because you look at, someone getting somewhere so much faster than you did, or someone, who's been in the industry for 10 years and you've been in it for 6 months and you want to be where they're at right now. And I think that instant gratification of so many things, even the services that we do, it's instant gratification. Like business is not that way. And it's tough. So, I mean, I guess to follow this up, how do you feel like growing your YouTube? Was it pretty quick for you or was it slow going? Or how did you feel like you overcame any hurdles when it came to being like, okay, I have to stay consistent. I know I'm maybe not reaching the numbers I'm hitting yet. Or do you feel like, oh, it actually took off the way you were hoping it would?
So in the beginning, I had no game plan. To this day, I have no game plan. I don't know what the end game is for my YouTube channel. I just know that I love filming, not so much editing, but I just love sharing as much as I can. I like to be a little bit, now I'm switching over to more like lifestyle vlog type videos because what I realized is I was kind of getting burnt out just doing sit down videos. I started buying online courses and realizing that people were charging a bunch of money for what I was just doing for free. And I love that I did it for free because again, like I helped so many people and those videos are on my YouTube. They can, if they type in some keywords, most of my videos will pop up, a lot of like informative things are on there, but I don't have like an end game. I've been slowly growing. And then last year when I moved into my bigger studio, I took YouTube a little bit on the back end, like I wasn't uploading consistently. So my views did go down, but now that I'm uploading more vlog style videos, I love it even more. I'm like so inspired. I don't have to think of a new idea every week because again, I was thinking of so many ideas and I'm like, I can't perfect them. Like an online course, an online course, you think of an idea, let's say like how to master um, the shimmy method or whatever. And they drop that course, they get those clients, and they perfect that course, the same course. They perfect it over the months and years. No, my videos, I had to pump them out and new ideas, new ideas. So I was getting very burnt out doing sit down videos, but I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy because a lot of people still reach out to me on the daily on older videos. They comment, they're like, I love this. I learned so much. And I'm like, yes, that's what I wanted to hear, because I wish I had someone that I could have just like looked up to and been like, oh, thought of it like the lashing a different way. Because again, so many people are like one way only, but how I teach on my YouTube is you became an entrepreneur so you can do business your own way. So how I do it, if you don't like it, that's totally fine. Figure out a way that works best for you and your business. And I do see a lot of like online coaches or mentors or, trainers that they have one way. And it's like, no, if you're doing it a different way, that's not right. This is the right way. And it's kind of intimidating for the newer artists. That's like, well, that doesn't work for my lifestyle, So I feel like with my YouTube, anyone is welcome to come. Anyone's welcome to have their own outlook or like, what is it called? Input, their own way of thinking. And I'm okay with that because I get inspired by people that comment on my videos too. I'm like, I never thought of it that way.
And I think that's what's so cool because you've built a community of people that are so engaged. And to piggyback off of something you said, like people are still seeing videos that you've posted years ago and they're being helpful to them. And I think and I don't know much about the YouTube algorithm. So if you know anything about the YouTube algorithm, but I think that's so cool that like with Instagram, I feel like a lot of the time, unless someone is literally looking through your page and going through all of your things from years ago, it's like with Instagram, you almost have to repost that content to reach new people and hit, those, those other people in your audience that didn't see that piece of content before. Whereas with YouTube, it's almost kind of like, again, like you said, if you're typing in those keywords, your video is going to pop up, even if it was posted 2, 3, 4 years ago.
With YouTube, with Instagram is so different. It's like someone's going to follow you and they're not going to go back. Like personally, I don't. If I follow someone, it's because I've seen that piece of content that they just uploaded that week. Probably sometimes Instagram throws out like a month old content and I won't go back through their page. I'll just keep up with their stories or their new information that they're posting. But on YouTube, no, like if you go right now and you type in how to make the best coffee, probably you'll see a video from 5 years ago pop up from some random page because it's those keywords. So yeah, YouTube and Instagram are completely different in that sense.
I think that's so cool. Do you have any advice for anyone who would, if say I'm a brand new person, I want to start YouTube today, or I want to start getting comfortable on Instagram and Reels and sharing my face. Do you have any tips for anyone who's like, I'm nervous, this is scary?
Yeah. So I know with you, it's a little bit different. You're like, just show up as you are. People are going to connect with you that way. I'm a little bit different. If I didn't have makeup on, I would probably be like, don't look at me. So I feel most confident when I have a little bit of makeup on. My hair is a little bit slick, not too much, and I just breathe, drink some water and just do it. And with Instagram, it's amazing because with YouTube too, Instagram and YouTube, it's so amazing because if you don't like it, you don't have to upload it. You can just delete it, redo it, do it in a couple hours. And just like, think of that idea until you're like, okay, I feel comfortable with how this, content is looking. So you can push upload. But with lives, I know you were like one time that your hands were super sweaty with lives. I feel with lives, you just have to rip the Band-Aid off. If there's someone on there, just like keep breathing and keep talking because I've joined some people's lives that I love, but they don't have any views and they'll keep looking at the number and I'll jump on, I'll be like, hey, and they'll still stay quiet because they probably think no one's on there. But I'm like, keep talking to engage with whoever pops in,
And I think that's the most annoying thing too. Whenever I pop on somebody else's live, exactly like you said, even if it's somebody that I love, if they're like, oh, we're going to wait for a couple more people to join. Like, people's time is valuable. We have the attention span of a goldfish. Like, you need to talk from the moment you press live, and it goes live even if there's one person on there, because the longer you can keep that person on there, the algorithm's going to push you out to more and more people, and it's going to notify more of your followers because you're actually doing something that's engaging, keeping people on the app. Instagram wants people on the app. And if you can create content, whether that's lives or reels or engaging stories with the sticker questions and so on and so forth, and you're showing Instagram that you keep people on the app and you get people to engage with you, it's gonna be so much more helpful. But yeah, I feel that same way when people are just silent. It's like, bro, talk to the people that you do have. And especially too, most of people save their lives anyways. So can you imagine someone going back and being like, okay, how long are they silent for?
Right.
Like, can I fast forward through this?
Yeah, I just feel like also if they continue to talk through the live, even if no one's watching, that is also building their character, and it's just getting them more comfortable with just speaking, you know, versus like them just being super quiet. Of course they're going to feel nervous the next time because they're like, no one jumped on, I felt awkward, yada yada yada. But if you're looking at yourself and you're like, oh, I look cute, or just anything, you're going to connect with that and be like, oh, I kind of like her, you know?
Totally. Well, and I think that's the thing too. Like, obviously some people go on live for very specific reasons where they're talking about retention, or they're talking about an upcoming course launch, or they're talking about whatever. But I think the ones that I love following, or the ones that I actually stay engaged on, are exactly like you say. They're just talking about what they've been doing throughout the day, what they've been doing, like what's going on, what they're doing the rest of the week, what they have coming up. And it's so interesting to just get a little peek in on people's lives. And I think some people get worried about that because they're like, oh, I have to be super vulnerable and I have to share my whole life. And you get exactly like you said earlier, if you don't like it, don't upload it. Like, you have the power to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and it doesn't have to be everything. And I use this example all the time, but we watch the Kardashians eat salads. We watch them eat salads. Like, your life doesn't, like, for when I hear people say, my life isn't exciting. Like, most people's lives, we're doing a lot of the same things. And if people would be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize she likes my favorite coffee shop too, or she gets the same drink I do. Like, those little things that can make you relatable to people, I think just furthers those connections, or that draw that your audience will have to you.
Yeah, like when I started Spin earlier this year, so many people like just reached out to me and they were like, oh my God, I do Spin too, yada, yada, yada. And I just went to Nashville this past weekend and I've never rode a Peloton. I've only gone to like spin classes. So I shared who I was taking a class with, and I got like 7 messages like, I love her, that class is amazing, yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, you see, if you share like things that you might think, again, I might have thought like, oh, this is boring, I'm sure no one cares, but that I'm building those connections, and that's what I want. I want to build those real connections, so when I meet these people in real life, like at LashCon later this year, I have something to talk to them about, not just something superficial where I'm like, yes, I just share retention tips all the time. Like, they're just gonna be like, that's the retention girl, and I'll be like, yeah, that's me, you know. But if you want to be known as a retention girl, go ahead, you know. I don't mind it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think too, like, that was the biggest thing for me, and I'm sure you've felt this way too with people coming up to you at events who know you just through Instagram, is I wanted to be the same person on Instagram that I was in person. And the amount of comments that I've gotten, or even people who have come and taken training courses from me, they're like, oh my gosh, like, you're exactly like you are on Instagram. Like, I thought you were going to be like maybe cold or not as like upbeat. And I was like, no, girl, this is me. Like, first of all, I can't pretend to be anybody that I'm not. And second of all, like, it's so much easier to show up as yourself. And I think that's where people get frustrated or discouraged as well, because they think, oh, well, this person shows up with makeup on every time, so I need to show up with makeup every time. And that's how I felt in the beginning, because I was like, I need to have a filter on, I need to have my makeup done and my hair done. And I remember one time I got on, yes, and see, that's the thing, and that's where I feel like both opinions are important, both opinions matter, and ultimately, like you said before, it comes down to what you're most comfortable with, what makes you feel the most confident. And I got to a point, I think I showed up on stories, my hair was in a messy bun, I had just woken up, I was like making my morning coffee, and someone responded, and she was like, wow, this is real. Or like, wow, you're just like so real. And I was like, I just don't care anymore. And I think for me, it got to a point where I was like, and I wasn't like that in the beginning either. I wasn't always confident showing up without a filter, without makeup on, or, without my hair done. And it got to a point where I was like, hey, it's okay for me to show up this way too. Like, I don't always have to have it. Of course, I feel more confident with makeup on, hair done, all the things. Of course, I feel like prettier and put together and better. But especially, and I think for me, the mindset behind it is if I have value to share and I feel fired up about it right now, I'm going to share it right now, whether my makeup done, hair done, or I'm not wearing makeup and my hair's in a messy bun. Because for me, that made it easier for me to stay consistent. And I guess I just was never the person that was like, I'm putting my makeup on every day, I'm doing my hair every day. And I used to be that person. Yeah. And then I got to a point where I was just like, I feel okay without this. But then again, like, I think again, it comes down to what makes you feel the most confident and show up in that way. And if that means setting your alarm.
And showing up as authentically you, because
exactly.
Personally, I was raised with a single mom. My mom is, what's it called? A single mom. Yeah. I'm like, how do you say that? And she would always heels, get ready before we left the house all the time. I would see her getting ready. I wanted to be in the beauty industry since I could remember. I have a beauty tattoo in Japanese right here on my stomach. And I just love beauty. I love doing my makeup. That's how I first started my YouTube channel, doing makeup tutorials. So I would do like cut creases, this, that. I just love makeup. So that's how I show up authentically me, because I do my makeup all the time, So I like makeup. I like to show up with makeup all the time. I like pink. If you don't like pink, if you don't like makeup, it's going to be harder for you to stay consistent because you're trying to emulate somebody else. You're trying to keep up with somebody else that you're inspired by. Love that. But if that's not you, you're not going to be consistent. You're not going to have that fire under your butt saying like, oh, I need to do this. It's not going to work out because that's not who you are.
And I wonder too, now that I'm just like really thinking about it, I wonder if that's where a lot of people struggle with being consistent, not just because they're trying to be somebody else, but because they genuinely don't know who they are at their core, or what values they want to share, or what their why is, or what really does make them feel comfortable. And like, that makes me sad because I feel like 20-year-old me, she didn't know who she was. She didn't know what she was trying to do. She was literally just trying to like, she was just doing whatever fell into her lap. And that's how lashes came to fruition for me. But like, I think too, it takes that inner work to really truly feel comfortable and confident showing up and sharing your story, whatever that may be. And obviously with business, personal, you don't have to share all the personal things on your business page. You don't have to share all the things that you're going through. But I think in this industry, it's so easy for us to get so close to our clients. Our clients share with us. They ask questions about us, especially if you're solo salon one-on-one. It's so easy to create those relationships with your clients, and they really get to know you and you really get to know them. And it's really cool, like learning about yourself through other people's lens almost as well.
Yeah, because that's how I feel like your podcast has helped so much change my mindset. And I've just been constantly trying to like find other people that inspire me in that way, and just a lot of affirmations, because in my mind, like I would constantly talk so bad about myself. And I started realizing it with my daughter. She'd be like, oh my God, I'm so dumb. And then I was like, because I would say that to myself and I would just blurt it out. And it started like breaking my heart a little bit, because I was like, you're not dumb. And then I started seeing myself, and oh my God, like I would want to cry, because I would see pictures of her next to me when I was little. And I'm just like, you're so beautiful. Like, what do you mean? Like that you feel like you're dumb? So all those like inner words that you're constantly talking to yourself, like, I'm not confident. I don't know what to share. I don't this, I don't that. They become your reality. Like they really do. Constantly saying like, I'm tired, I don't have time. All of that becomes like your reality. So doing those little, I know it's like so cheesy to like write on your mirror, whatever, or like put post-its up. It's so cheesy and like people are like side eye, but it really helps. It really helps.
Yeah, if any of you are watching the video of this, I literally have post-it notes and stuff behind me. I have my word for the year. I have, this one is
Travel.
blinders on, minding my business, creating my empire. And then I have my travel thing. I have this other like mission statement about how I love helping new lash artists find confidence in themselves and their businesses. And like, I am a person that needs that. And exactly like you said, I thought it was so cheesy and so dumb in the beginning, but I was struggling. I had so much anxiety. I was not like happy. And on the outside, I looked so happy. I looked, I looked great. I like had all these things go, and that's what's tough with social media too, because you could be like, oh, this person's on the top of the world, but you have no idea what it's like to live inside their head. And so I had post-it notes on my mirror. I had all these different things. And I think one thing that has really helped me listening to other podcasts is your brain doesn't know the difference between past, present, and future. And if you're living in the past, your brain thinks you're currently going through it. And so when I was struggling with anxiety, I was constantly worried about the future, about having a panic attack. And I was looking at the past, thinking about my panic attack. So my body was constantly in this state of like, oh, we're almost to a panic attack kind of thing. And it's like it's almost like you have to trick your brain. You have to be smarter than your mind is. And then, to back that up, I feel like our brains are so powerful. Like what you tell it is going to happen, especially what you're speaking to yourself. And your brain retains things better if you see them, hear them, and speak them. And so if you have that post-it note, you're reading it, you're seeing it, you're speaking it out loud and hearing it at the same time. And that is actually what really helped me overcome my anxiety and get to the place of like having a stronger mindset around so many different things. Like I used to be the person that if somebody cut me off, my whole day was ruined. And like I would let it affect everything. And now it's like, oh, they just must be in a hurry. Like being able to look at things differently and realize like, oh, I have the power to be positive. I have the power to create whatever reality I want to create. And it just takes that it takes time, obviously, to rewrite your brain.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be cheesy where it's like, I am amazing. It could be something that you want to really believe. It could be like, I don't know, because with my daughter, what I tell her is like, I'm like, who's gonna have a good day today? And she'll be like, me. And I'm like, why? And she'll be like, because I said so. And I'm like, yeah, just because you said so, you are going to have a good day. So you can figure out something that is going to resonate with you and you're going to see it and you're going to believe it. It can't just be something you find off like Pinterest or something and you don't really connect with it. It has to be something that feels right for you.
Absolutely. And I have a journal that I do every morning and it has prompting questions and I write out my day and the hours, what I'm going to be doing. And one of the questions is, what kind of person do I want to be today? Or what kind of word, it says, what kind of word do I want to describe today? And when I was so sad, I was going through a bunch of stuff, I literally just said joyful. I just want to be joyful. And I started writing that down and I got to a place where I was like, okay, I can actually find joy in my day. And like, I can, even though I'm going through all this stuff, like this one, me going to get myself my little treat at Starbucks, like that's where I can find my joy. Or, just little things like that. Like if you can start with those baby steps, I think it helps propel you in the right direction. And then you're just going to have all that compounding interest of every day making those simple steps towards a better life.
Yeah, because sometimes we take a lot of stuff for granted. We say, oh, well, I could work out whenever. And if you sit back to think, like, there's some people that can't work out, and you're just not taking it for granted, but still sometimes you're just like, I deserve whatever you want. And it's like, you need to work hard for that. You need to be appreciative and you need to realize that not everyone gets the opportunity to wake up in a house. Like, oh my God, sometimes I think about it and I could get so deep and start freaking crying because it's crazy to think like that I came from Vegas here with nothing and I have built such a beautiful life here. And it's like, I don't know. It's just crazy. You know, when you start thinking very negative, you start seeing negative stuff. So if you continuously
Mm-hmm.
try to find that like little spark in your day, like the coffee, the water that you're drinking that's so fresh and so good for your body, like e- even the bigger wins, they start feeling even better because if you're not appreciating the little things, how is God or whoever you know believe in going to give you more if you're not appreciating the small that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I talk about it with my lash friend. I tell her, I was like, look at my old space because she's like, oh, she's in a really small studio. And she's like, oh, I'm waiting until I get a bigger studio to do this. I'm waiting for a bigger studio to do that. And I look at her and I'm like, girl, remember my old space? I was like in a tiny little room. I was like, don't you remember? I had my cleansers there. I had like little treats for my clients. Like, you need to appreciate where you're at because then you're not going to get anything bigger. And she's like, that's true. And I'm like, no, it's 100% true. Like, appreciate where you are right now. Yes, dream for bigger, work for better and bigger, but still appreciate where you're at because you've worked really hard for wherever you're at, you know, and those other bigger goals are gonna come. Just appreciate where you're at too.
Exactly. And to follow up on something you said, you don't have to wait for that next space to do the thing you want to do now. You don't have to wait for that, like, oh, well, when I lose X amount of weight, then I'll wear that bikini. When I do this, then I'll do that. Like, and I've talked about this in past podcasts, but I've had a lot of loss in my life as far as family members and young, you know, a young cousin and young friends in my early mid 20s. And if you keep waiting for that, when this happens, I'll do this, you're holding yourself back. And I think for me, like, I know this sounds so morbid, but you have no idea when your last day is going to be. So, like, why are you holding yourself back from doing that thing you want to do? And, like, ultimately, too, I think people are worried about failure. And, but if you don't do it, you will literally never know. And what if you are able to reach it to 85? And at 85 years old, you're like, wow, when I was 28, I wish I had gone after that thing, or I wish I had done that, or I wish I asked that guy out. Like, I don't, you know, you don't want to be left wondering. And
Yeah.
so if anything, do it for yourself. Even if you're worried about what other people may think, do it for yourself because you deserve to know if it's something that you want or not. And if it's not, great, pivot, do something else, you know, go back to what you were doing before. And like, it's okay to try things, but it's not okay to get to 85 years old and regretting not doing anything or
That's
doing
where I'm
something that you want to do.
that's what I'm currently going through with LashCon. When Paul asked me, I was like, little old me, do I deserve it? I see everyone else that's speaking and I'm like, oh my God. And you get that imposter syndrome and it's like, no, I'm not going to close this door on me because I deserve to be here. You know, like, don't close these opportunities. I deserve it. I'm going to keep working hard all year. And further than LashCon, I'm going to continue to work hard and appreciate everything that I have worked hard for, you know, and I know that I'm going to continue to work harder and continue to reach all these other milestones that I have in place. I need to do that. I need to put some milestones. Now that you ask me, like, where do you see your YouTube? I'm like, where do I see it? I don't know. I'm just going. I'm just like happy. Like, oh yeah, like just living because
Right.
it could have been so different for me, like so different. So now any little thing that I have, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy. Like, oh my God, it's crazy.
Well, I think that's what's so cool because you can tell you genuinely love putting out the videos that you put out. Like, even when I'm sure you felt like, oh my gosh, I got to come up with all these ideas, or like, this isn't perfected like a course would be, like, but your why, like your main reason, the value you wanted to share was to simply help other people who are in the position that you were in years ago. And I think that is so cool because it's something that you just genuinely want to help people, and you want to make sure that they're not left feeling like, oh, I have no one to ask questions, or like, I don't know what I'm doing, because so many of us are left feeling that way when we come into the lash world in the very beginning.
Yeah, and it
And
was very gatekeepy, you know. Now I'm so glad that so many more people are sharing so much more information, and it's really easy to find the answer to your question. But when I first started, I was like, where do I go? I remember talking to Allie, and I will never forget this conversation. I was at LashCon and looked around. This was in 2019. Did you attend 2019
I did
LashCon?
not. No.
So small compared to what it is now. But I thought it was the most, my mind was blown. I went up to Allie and I was like, oh my God, there's so many lash artists here. I didn't believe there was this many of us. She looked at me and she said, and this isn't even 10% of the lash artists. And I was like, I was like, what? I went on Instagram. I started looking up hashtags lash artists and I was like, follow, 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 follow. I was like, what? What in the world? I just never thought of it. And now it's like everyone wants to be a lash artist. Everybody, their mama, their sister, everybody wants to be a lash artist. And I love it because it's like when I first moved here to Memphis, there was not a lot of lash artists. And the ones that were doing lash artists, I'm sorry, but they were doing them crazy, like brooms up to here, you know? And I remember hustling to get my clients. I was like at the mall giving business cards out, and so many people would look at me and be like, those damage my lashes, those damage my lashes. And then that's when I went a little bit deeper and I was like, girl, I got time. What do you mean they damage your lashes? You know, so I started talking to them. They were getting clusters or they were getting lashes, but they were not getting isolated properly. So I was able to, build a clientele that was so appreciative, because they didn't know that they should wash their lashes. They didn't know a bunch of stuff. And now that there's so many lash artists, I love it because like there's so many more clients for all of us because so many more people know about lashes. Now everybody wants to have lashes. So in the beginning, it was a little bit hard to get clients because everyone was like, no, those are going to make my lashes fall off. And once I started informing them, like, yeah, they should fall off, but not like leave you with gaps, and started, educating my clients. And now everyone that does lashes is pretty good. You get me? Like now there's less bad lash artists than there is good lash artists. Before it was the opposite. There was a little bit of good lash artists and a ton of bad ones. So I'm glad that like lash artists are becoming a household name, that everybody wants lashes, and that just makes more clients for not only lash artists, but for trainers, because there's going to be lots of more people wanting to come into the industry.
Absolutely. And I think too, like to give advice after what you said, literally do what Jessica did, like educate your clients. And I think that's something that was huge for me, because when I started when I was 19 at a salon, nobody trusted me to do their lashes. They're like, you're a child. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, you need to wash your lashes. You need to do this, like, blah, 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 blah. And then clients started to be like, oh, like I have to wash them because of this, or like, and obviously like back then we didn't really tell people to wash their lashes. We're like, don't ever get them wet. But then like a year later when we started, at that point I was on my own and actually educating my clients on why they needed to come in, why they needed to wash them, all these different things. They started to be like, oh, okay, like you're my only go-to because you're the only person that's ever told me any of this. Yeah. And it's setting your clients up for success, and it's setting you up for success as well. And I think educating clients is so, so, so important. Even if like you don't have the words perfectly correctly. I remember thinking about talking about it and I would like stumble over my words a little bit, or like backtrack and be like, oh, well, like this is what I mean. And now it's like, you just kind of, you get to that point where you have your spiel and you do all of that. But I think educating your clients is so important to just, again, help them put their trust in you and
build that relationship, because they're going to come to you if you continue to tell them. Like, you also have to be well informed in the lash industry and how it's changing, because in the beginning, like you mentioned, people were like, don't get them wet. And then out of nowhere, it's like, no, wash them with baby shampoo. It was like, no, wash them with this wash. And your client's like, wait, what? But if they already like, trust you, because you're like, I'm not selling you this so your lashes could fall off. No, trust me. I'm not telling you to come back in 2 weeks just because your natural lashes are falling off. You're showing them pictures. You're explaining to them the process. That is where I also feel like my clients trusted me a lot, is whenever I would do something, I would explain it to them. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to place the gel pads, then you close your eyes. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's because their eyes are closed. So they're hearing, they're hearing everything going around, and they might have anxiety. They might be like, what is she doing? But if you're not explaining to them, okay, I'm going to start lashing you now. Okay, this, that, they're going to be scared. But if you educate them, if you have that open conversation, I've heard people say that, like on Facebook, that some lash artists wouldn't let their clients use the restroom throughout the service. I'm like, okay, everyone runs their business however they want, but that is crazy that you're not letting your client use the restroom throughout the service. Like, everyone's going to run their business however they want, whatever. But be, open with them and be like, hey, if you do need to use the restroom, let me know, because I've had my lashes done where I'm like, okay, I need to use the restroom. Oh, she's almost done. And then 30 minutes pass and I'm like, no, I really need to use the restroom. She might almost be done. No, let your clients know that could happen, because even when my client's like, oh no, I already used the restroom, I'll still let them know, like, it's fine, but if you do need to use it, let me know, because then they're going to be scared to ask you 30 minutes in, like, dang, she just told me to use the restroom. Now I'm telling her to take all this off. No, they're in a safe space. You're building your clientele, you're building that connection. You want them to trust you, and just be very open with your clients. Teach them, they'll love you.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I think too, exactly like you said, like, especially when it's a new client, when you're placing the gel pads, when you're doing everything, remind them, hey, this isn't supposed to be an uncomfortable service. Like, if at any point you feel like the gel pad or tape has slipped in, or you feel a little stingy, like, please let me know so I can fix it and adjust it. And like, because they don't know what to expect, especially if they've never gotten it done before. I remember I had a client come in and see me for the first time, and she said, this is the first time my eyes didn't sting the entire service. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh no. She was like, I think she was from California or something. She was like, every single time my eyes would be so bloodshot for like 48 hours and so irritated. And I was just uncomfortable the whole hour and a half I was sitting down there. And I was like, oh no. I was like, well, I'm really glad that, like, I told you to tell me if anything was uncomfortable, and like, it was comfortable. And I think at that point I was using like a foam tape or something, and so it was just more comfortable. But I was just like, oh no, because clients don't know, especially if they've never got them done before.
Or even if they have gotten it done and they were, taught the wrong way, to not cleanse them, to not get them wet. Their previous artist didn't tell them about, there's different styles, there's different lengths. What do you want? Different curls. They don't know. So treat every client as they wouldn't know, because you want to kind of train them and mold them your way, so they know your process, they know how easy it is to check out, and you're just explaining to them, because every artist is different.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I think that's pretty much what we've been talking about this whole time is like, just because I do something one way doesn't mean you need to do it this way. Like, you get to make your own path. Like, just because you hear about 5 different ways and you're like, well, I want to kind of try and maneuver this way and like see if this works for me. And I think so much of the industry is personal preference, that's what's so fun about it. You get to trial and error. You get to see what you like best and what you don't like and what you want to avoid and how you want to run your business. But if you had like,
that we all have in common is isolation, but other than that, like, how you isolate is very different, but
I know my overhand, I feel like I've gotten maybe 3 or 4 messages over the almost 9 years that I've been lashing of people being like, oh my gosh, you hold your isolation tweezer like me. And I was like, I've tried to teach myself to do it the other way. And like, I remember one time, sometimes I'll take my tweezers home and I'll do my sister's lashes at my house, because I have like a whole setup. Like, if my dogs have been in the kennel all day and I'm like, can we do your lashes at the house instead? Like, I don't want to leave them in anymore. And like, I remember I left my isolation tweezer, and I only have one. That came with me with my first kit I ever took. I need to find the brand and order more. But I had to isolate like most 99% of the, industry does. And I had to do a fill on one of my clients. And I was like, just so you know, this might take me a little longer. Like, do you have extra time for me to run over? She was like, yes. And I remember my assistant was here and she was filming me. And I was like, I literally looked up at her and I was like, this is hard. I was like, I'm not used to this.
I tried it and I'm like, how does she do it?
It's a really short tweezer.
Okay. I'm telling you, everyone, it's like muscle memory. Once I built that muscle memory the opposite way, there's no going back.
Oh my gosh, I know. I feel like, and that's personal preference. I think that's like, again, what's so great about the industry. Do you have any tips that you want to leave with anyone, or anything that you want to say to anyone who might be feeling discouraged or might be feeling like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to stick with it, or anything that you feel like we want to end on?
Yeah, I would say like check your surroundings and figure out why you feel that way. Sometimes it could be like you're lashing under someone that is not very helpful, that is not giving you the resources you need. It can be that you're lashing solo and you do not like lashing solo. You prefer a environment where there's a bunch of girls. So just look around and very like pinpoint what is making you feel that way, that you don't want to be in the industry. Because it's an amazing industry. There's so many ways that you can make money in this industry, and it's not just behind the chair. So I don't know what to tell you. I think it's like mostly like your environment that makes you feel like burnt out. Change your policies, change your way of checking people out. Let your clients know, hey, I'm not texting you after 6 p.m. Because again, this industry is amazing. I don't know why anyone would want to leave it. The reasons why I've seen people leave it is because of like, they don't have clients, and I'm asking them like, oh, have you gone to the mall? No, I'm too shy. Okay. And then another one, oh, I don't like doing lashes, like my owner, this. And I'm like, okay, then maybe you need to like pivot. It's not exactly that you don't like lashes. It's the environment that you're at and what you are creating for yourself that is making you feel so negative about this industry.
Totally. And I think it's like you have to be willing to put in the time and effort, because it is, or at least for me, it was a lot of time and effort to get to the point where I felt like, oh, I think I could call myself a good lash artist now. Yeah. It was like probably 2 years for me to be like, okay, I actually feel like confident in my sets, and I feel confident in my client retention and my conversations I'm having with them, and just knowing that it will take time, but if you're determined enough, you can get there, and it's going to be perfect.
Yeah. And you're going to build your business around how you love it, and it's going to be amazing, like you mentioned.
Exactly. Well, please tell us where we can all find you and follow you. Tell us about where we can find you on Instagram, YouTube, any of the other things. Plug your upcoming stuff that you're going to be at, where we can see you.
So you can follow me on JESICAVXO. That's Jessica VXO, Jessica with one S. Anywhere you put that, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you'll find me with my little pink hair. I need to redo it. But I'll be at LashCon. I'm so excited. Again, nervous, but mostly excited. And that's about it.
I love that. Well, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being on. I know we had some technical difficulties. I sent you the wrong link. We were like doing all this stuff.
I was like, my charger.
But yeah, so anyone who wants to find Jessica, we'll have everything linked in the show notes as well, and on YouTube. We'll have her linked everywhere, and we'll actually link the LashCon tickets as well. By the time this episode comes out, the first round of tickets will have already launched, so you'll definitely want to get that pre-sale pricing if you are interested in going to LashCon to see Jessica speak. I'm so excited, and thank you again for coming.
Yes, I'm going to work on my speaking, because I know I ramble so much, and I have like my mind goes like a million times per hour that I go into like, I don't explain myself properly. So I'll be better.
No, I totally get that. I feel like speaking it's tough to get up there and speak in front of a ton of people. And then once you start going, I'll do the same thing. I'll just start to ramble, and I'll be like, what point was I trying to make?
Yeah, you're like, oh.
It's like there was a reason I went here to get back here.
But how are we going to get back there?
Exactly. But you're going to do great, and I can't wait to see you. And so, yeah, we will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you for listening.
Bye.